Hello, hello, hello. It's Christy here from Version of You 2.0. And I just finished my Clubhouse. I figured I'd actually come on. I think next time I'm going to try and do Clubhouse and Facebook Live simultaneously. But here's the thing. I want you to join my Clubhouse. On Mondays, it's for women only. On Fridays, it's for everybody. Mondays, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Fridays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Clubhouse is Version of You 2.0. Surprising, I know. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Christy, and I'm super excited for you to be joining me either live or in the replay. I can try and watch for comments. If you've got comments and want to play along with me, I'm going to just kind of push this over and extend and refresh comments. Action needed. Close unused applications. Just give me a second. Close. Dismiss. All right, let's see what's happening. Okay, my apologies. I got distracted with a Facebook message that just came up. Anyway, I know we're live, and it's dark, and I'm sorry. Let's see if I can fix any of that for you so that we can see each other. My little light show here. There we go. Okay, so as a mastery level transformation coach and currently a student in the RTT hypnotherapy program, Rapid Transformation Therapy, I'm all about fixing you fast. I know that anxiety and fear create havoc on our bodies, our self-confidence, our productivity, and it limits our opportunities, right? How many times have you said no to something because you were afraid of failing, or you were afraid of rejection, or you just procrastinated? So my goal is to help you move past the fear that may be keeping you in the status quo. So in Clubhouse on Mondays and Fridays, we work one-on-one in order to address some of the walls that you've been putting up. So we knock down walls, we break through locked doors, and we slay inner dragons and inner demons. So I do have one of you who's on live, so feel free to comment, and hopefully more of you will join in as we go. So here's a quote by Charles Horton Cooley, and I know I've quoted him before. I love this quote. I am not who you think I am. I am not who I think I am. I am who I think you think I am. This quote speaks to how we identify ourselves in the world, how we formulate our thoughts, feelings, and actions based on our perceptions. Right? We live our life based off of lies, based off of perception. And that's how and why we live in fear. We create our identity on wanting to be loved, to feel safe, and to belong in society, in our community, in a group, and within a family based on perception. So I know I have created many fears around how I perceived other people would respond to me. I am a recovering perfectionist and people pleaser. I've spent a great deal of time ignoring my needs to meet the needs of others over the years. My self-worth was so low and my self-loathing was so high, I actually didn't even know how much I hated myself. No joke. And I would do almost anything to win the respect and love of others, and even to my detriment. I firmly believed that if I wanted something in return, I was being selfish, that my needs were far less important to meet than meeting the needs of those I loved and respected. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about coaching today, because listening to your stories, I feel your feels. I know what it's like to be at the bottom of the hell pit. I know what it's like to try and scratch your way and dig your way and crawl your way out of it. And so when I'm offering my services, I try to offer rapid results. I mean, I truly do. Because I don't want you there very long. That's why I created systems. That's why I created accountability. That's why I created support, so that you don't have to stay stuck for any longer than you choose to. Okay? So when you think that it's our perception of how we think about how we think about how we're influenced by others' perceptions of us, how it shapes how we act, it's pretty powerful, you know. I will do, act, and say things based on how I think I'm going to be perceived. I've gotten better, but I certainly, you know, filter my words a little bit more carefully when I'm on live, for example. So we're talking about anxiety and fear and how they affect your health, wealth, opportunity, self-confidence, and productivity. And that's where we go every Monday and every Friday in the Clubhouse version of U 2.0, where I get to coach you one-on-one, where you get to come on stage. It's not as scary as it sounds, but you get to come on stage and I ask you a question and we kind of work through it. I think it's a really great place for you to take action. You know, a lot of times in Facebook, you just kind of sit back in the lives, or you sit back and watch the replays. You're not actively engaged. But if you want to move forward, if you want to stay out of the status quo, then you need to take action. You need to actually do something. And one of the hardest things to do is to be vulnerable. Yet it's one of the most effective, because it forces you to feel the feelings that otherwise you're avoiding to feel. And that is what we're talking about today. And on Friday, we're talking about how you have avoided feeling the feelings and how that has impacted you financially. So be there 11:30 Eastern Standard Time in our Women Weight Loss Strategies group. Okay. So in my Clubhouse, the rules of engagement for the room are really simple. I'll provide you with curated information, experience, and coaching. And in return, just that you remain open, honest, and vulnerable with your feelings. And in Clubhouse, if you don't want to share, you don't have to. I don't have to pull you up on stage. If you raise your hand, I will bring you up on stage. If you don't want to raise your hand, I won't bring you up on stage. If you do decide to engage, you will raise your hand. I will bring you up on stage, and one by one, you will get to share your responses to my questions. So you'll answer one of my questions, and then I will bring somebody else on stage to answer the same question or a different question. You can also share your takeaways, your aha moments, your inspiration, and any feelings that you have specific to the question and topic at hand. In the Clubhouse, I will ask that you invite your friends who you think would benefit from being supported and honored in our space. So I'm just going to quickly introduce myself to all of you. My name is Christy. I'm the founder and CEO of Version of You 2.0. I'm a health, life, and wellness transformation coach. So I serve my clients in a lot of different ways. I try and offer a holistic approach because there's no one way in solving your problem. Chances are your problem has affected you emotionally. It's affected you hormonally. It's affected the way in which you conduct yourself on a day-to-day, likely has affected your career and career aspirations, your level of satisfaction, affected some of your relationships, certainly affected your relationship with yourself. It's probably affected your finances, which again, we'll talk about on Friday. And it's likely affected kind of your ability to tap into your own intuition. You know, a lot of the work that I do is that intuitive connection with my clients. And over time, they realize that they're saying yes to people when they know they should be saying no. And they get better at kind of reading their own kind of red flags, sensing what those feel like in their body, knowing that they're not congruent with what they really want. But oftentimes our self-sabotaging behaviors prevent us from being able to feel that level of intuition that we actually really have. So I've been in the industry for almost 30 years. And I've come to learn that in almost any issue we face, that any reason for staying stuck, staying in the status quo, getting comfortable with complacency, normalizing your problem, saying, losing this weight, having normal cholesterol, having a normal blood pressure, living a balanced lifestyle is not for me. It's not available to me. That's you normalizing your problem. That's you making it okay instead of just dealing with it. And yes, dealing with it is hard. The journey is never easy. And you are always worth the effort. Okay? Please do not ever forget that. But the reason we don't do this is because of the F word. Fear. So I want you to think right now, how does fear show up in your life? So if you're watching this on the replay, I want you to answer this question. How is fear showing up in your life? If you have a pen and paper, write down the answer. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper into anxiety and fear. So fear is the feeling or state of being to be fearful where we have a perceived or real threat. Anxiety is a feeling or state of being to feel anxious due to uncertainty about something. The difference between the two is that anxiety is in response to fear. It's in response to the uncertainty. So we start by feeling fearful of something, real or perceived. So it doesn't matter if it's a lion that's in front of you or you're stuck in traffic and you're afraid that you're going to be late for work. And we respond accordingly. We get stressed and we have that fight, flee, or freeze kind of response physiologically. And that space between the thought where we become afraid and when we finally take action to address the fear, that space is anxiety. Said differently, anxiety fills the gap between the thought and the action. It's purgatory. So as you can imagine, if you suffer from fear, like fear of failure, fear of not fitting in or belonging, the fear of not feeling safe or not being loved, for example, you will experience your fair share of anxiety until you do something to rectify your feeling of fear. And as a health and life coach, I work with people who take action to address their fear. But here's the thing, when they come to see me, they're usually saying, Christy, I've tried everything already. All of the ways in which I used to deal with my anxiety and fear aren't working anymore. I've lost control. I don't know what to do. So what's happened is, yes, they're taking actions, but the actions that they're taking are actually not in alignment with the real ground truth, what they really need to do in order to address their fear. And I'm going to talk to you about this on Friday, 11:30 Eastern Standard Time in our weight loss strategies for women group, because oftentimes we use money as a means to try and address our fear. A lot of my clients come to me with health and weight loss goals, and they've done everything to address their health and weight loss goals, but they actually haven't. And so on Friday, we're going to kind of go through that. I'm going to ask you, how many different ways have you spent money on trying to improve your health and well-being? Okay, so if you can, think of that so that you can actively participate on Friday. So some examples that my clients kind of will use to address their anxiety is through the means of food. So this action taking allows them to stuff their pain so that they can avoid dealing with the emotion of fear. That's the ground truth. That's the underlying, that is what it is. It's a blunt response, but they're stuffing their pain to avoid dealing with the emotions of the fear. This impulse eating behavior stimulates the release of the hormone dopamine, which tricks the brain into thinking that they are emotionally okay, which of course explains why we turn to food or sex or drugs or other addictive behaviors in order to dull this feeling of anxiety, in order to dull this feeling of fear, in order to dull this feeling of not being enough, in order to dull this feeling of emptiness. And it's a way of feeling alive. It's a way of feeling like you're rebelling. It's a way of feeling strong. for a very, very short period of time. Of course, this is the same response that we partake in any addictive behavior. So if, overeating is not resonating with you, think of any other addictive behavior. Self-loathing, self-deprecation is another addictive behavior. You're proving yourself right. So as you can imagine then, using my overeating example, how people can easily gain weight by using foods as a means of distracting themselves, soothing themselves, and fulfilling their emotional needs. Unfortunately, the quantity of food and quality of food pay a toll on the body regarding health status, as I'm sure that you're all well aware. Now, here's the thing about food. Some of my clients even come to me saying, hey, listen, Christy, I eat healthy, but I'm still gaining weight, or I eat healthy, but I still can't lose these last 15, 20 pounds. And it's not just about the food that you're eating. And I talk about this in my Healthy You program. It's about the timing of food. It's about, the quantity of food. It's about who you are being, your state of mind when you are eating. It's about your hormone imbalances. There's a lot going on outside of just healthy eating that's needed in order to actually get healthy. Okay? So, have you ever consoled yourself with some addictive behavior? Spending money, eating, sex, drugs, alcohol, and used it as a means to avoid or as an act of rebellion? What was the reason for this avoidance tactic, for this self-sabotaging behavior? What emotions came after the behavior? So immediately after, did you feel guilty, shame? 1 hour after, or even the next day? What kind of spiral did you go into after the behavior itself? So we know the return on the investment for the 1 to 3 hours of that beautiful dopamine release. How many hours did you spend afterwards feeling guilty and feeling ashamed, and then having to deal with the consequences of your actions? Okay? How has this behavior helped you to avoid dealing with the fear? And what I mean by that is, you know that the behavior is only a way to avoid dealing with the underlying issue. So what is the actual underlying issue? Okay? An example is when my clients come to me with kind of binge eating behaviors, oftentimes it's because they have a feeling of boredom, they have a feeling of overwhelm, they have a feeling of lack of control. They have a fuck it attitude, that rebellious attitude. And we have to kind of dig down as to what the underlying behavior is, or feeling is for the behavior of boredom, and acting on boredom by choosing to eat food. So there's always something underneath the feeling that you have. So the thoughts and the words are attached to emotions. That emotion gets attached to a behavior, like an action that we take, and that creates our outcome, the result, the experience that we have. Okay, and that's always the cycle. So when you put yourself down, when you have thoughts and words that get attached to a negative emotion, then we tend to avoid feeling that negative emotion through self-destructive behaviors such as overeating, consuming alcohol, having sex, getting involved with in-ex relationships that never served you. But in doing all of that, you're kind of producing the experience that tells you that you're only worth that. that you're not worth anything more than that. And that kind of creates this cycle of, okay, well, if I'm not worthy enough, then I'm going to continue to think or use these words. I'm going to continue to think these thoughts. I'm going to continue to feel these feelings, and all it does is get amplified. And you just keep going in this circle in what I call the hell loop, okay, or on the hamster wheel. So I'm hoping that this resonates with you. So the fillers, the eating behavior, the spending behavior, or etc. It's an avoidance tactic when we feel fear. Unfortunately, as you know, that this particular action does not really address the fear. And because of that, you're just going to continue to live in purgatory. You're going to continue to live on that timeline of anxiety. So, question number 1, how does fear show up in your life? And what have you done to try and move past this fear? Question 2, how have you tried to console your fear where you were masking or avoiding to deal with the real issue? So what were your self-sabotaging behaviors? What are your go-tos? And what event or emotion do you think you are trying to avoid dealing with? That's a deep one, right? But I think you know the answer to that one. I don't think that that's going to require hypnotherapy for you to be able to dig into your subconscious mind. I think that the first thought that comes to you is likely the right answer. So I'll ask you the question again. What event or emotion do you think you are trying to avoid dealing with? Okay, we know it's tied to fear, but fear of what? Based on the fact that you know what actions you took to avoid your issue, so you understand your self-sabotaging behavior is a self-sabotaging behavior, what new steps can you swap in instead to address your problem head on? So please leave comments. One of the best ways that you can move forward in your life is to engage, is to be vulnerable, is to step the fuck up and comment and just be the first one, okay? Be the first one to say I love you. Be the first one to ask the person out on a date. Be the first one to ask for the promotion. Be the first one to have the fierce conversation. Be the first one to prove to yourself that you can accomplish your goals. Rather than sitting on the effect side of the cause and effect model, sit on the cause side. Take ownership. And if you're rejected, you're rejected, because it's going to happen. That's life. But in not doing it, you don't ever give yourself the opportunity to grow and learn. The ball is never in your court. You never have the opportunity. There's never any room for someone to say yes if you never step up to ask them a question. So at the very least, step up and leave your comments to these questions so that you can practice being vulnerable in a safe space. Here's to showing up for you. I hope to see you Friday, 11:30 Eastern Standard Time in our Weight Loss Strategies for Women's Facebook group.